With flesh of clay I bid thee rise, on wings of dreams to touch the skies. What once was idle fantasy, I call forth to reality.
Well, Kyle?
Yes, Garrett?
I can't handle any more new characters.
It's just one? Right? No, well, maybe. No, maybe. No.
Potentially more than one.
I know that guy.
No, you don't. You think you do, but you don't.
Maybe I don't. Maybe I do.
But first, do you like the Final Fantasy XIV MSQ? I'm just going to say yes because you're watching this video. I will answer for you. This isn't Blue's Clues call and response. I am not Steve, although Steve is a very nice man. Well, you might want to watch us play through the MSQ in real time on a live stream. Did you know we stream right here on this YouTube channel?
Oh, finally.
If you're watching this the day it came out, we drop new videos every Wednesday. Join us tomorrow night, Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We stream every Thursday night, and this Thursday night, if you're watching this video the day it came out, we're going to be doing our 5.2 stream. So come watch us, be astounded at what complete idiots we are.
Oh, shoot. Oh, my God. I lost. I exploded, apparently.
Right here on this channel. Back to the MSQ with... I would say it at 100 miles an hour, but the 100 miles an hour was like the last 1% of 5.1.
Well, sure. It was a wrap up, right? So let's get in perspective here. Shadowbringers released July 2nd, 2019. So it was about a 4-month wait for 5.1 to happen. There was obviously quite a bit to do. You could start up the raid. You had the extremes.
You had 2 of the 3 extremes.
2 of the 3 extremes, so not Hades yet, but that's quite a bit to chew on. And so we have a reuniting moment. And we knew coming out of the end of 5.0 that...
As the summoner of your souls, my death was meant to release you back to your world.
The Scions were still stuck on the first. Now it's time to add the ticking clock to that situation.
Yeah, you're totally right. We go back to the source and they tell us things aren't looking too good for the bodies of our friends. It's weird to think of them as our friends because we're hanging out with our friends in the first, but our friends back on the source are just kind of lifeless husks.
Yes, their bodies are okay due to magical sustaining in the room we cannot see. Probably because it'd be super lame. It'd just be like models laying in beds. Like, there's probably not much to see, so why not leave it to the imagination? But back on the first, Kryl says they're suffering from instability in their ether based on how long they've been gone from the source. This all with Grahati in tow is kind of just magic babble.
It's Star Trek-y. I think I even remarked during the stream that it felt like Star Trek technobabble at one point, which isn't a bad thing. I rather enjoy technobabble, but it was a good line delivery by Kryl at some point when Kryl's breaking it all down. You okay?
Yeah, I half expected for someone to do the like wormhole paper thing where you fold the piece of paper and push the pen through it, and you're like, oh, that's how it works, you know?
Yes, the worst Christopher Nolan movie.
I summoned you after detecting faint signs of instability in Thancred's corporeal ether.
Yes, you know, so like it was kind of that vein. It was very sci-fi in that way as we rejoined with Kryl and Tataru back on the source. It was nice to see them. We had a nice little aside with Fleming, which by the time we played Final Fantasy XIV, that section had been drastically cut down in A Realm Reborn. So, hey, you know, Cat Mom's here.
Cat Mom's here and taking the death of her adopted daughter extremely well, in my opinion.
I mean, to be fair, it's been a bit when she transcended into Ether in the live stream and ended up as the word of the mother and Heidelin. I think there's a flow to it, pun intended. It's a It's expected at this point, I think. Your adopted daughter got caught up in wild magic biz, and hey, you know, more magic biz happened.
I'm just always told how emotional this game is, and then you go tell Flamine, and it's like I told her Girl Scout cookies order was in.
While it is emotional, there are also moments of well-adjusted people.
That's fair.
Well, I mean, we could have some big Philemon betrayal thing that happens, right? Like, I mean, maybe she goes nuts, but I don't see that happening.
Yes.
I think this is a long road.
5.3, when Flamine is revealed to be the big bad and wants revenge on us for the death of Minfilia.
Yep, Primal Cat Mom is the big cutscene.
We're gonna Sylvanas Flamine.
Yeah, all the characters with the running eyeliner.
I like that. That would be messy because you're furry because you're a cat.
They don't have fur on their faces, though.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, they might have like a light down.
A peach fuzz.
We have the magic babble specialists involved. Kryle's back, talking about Grahatir, her old friend, because, you know, they went to school together. Grahatia, Oriange, Y'shtola, they're all bouncing ideas off each other. In particular, it's kind of interesting that Y'shtola says,
"Yet our souls seem unaffected, to my eye at least."
So while she's looking at everybody with her wizard eyes on the first, she's not feeling this on her end.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to be important for the future or if that's just a hand wave to explain why Y'shtola didn't notice something was up sooner.
There is a sub-magic plot of, like, the color of your soul. Emmett mentioned it when he brought back Y'shtola from the live stream.
Now then, what color was her soul again?
We're about to talk about Xenos mentioning it.
So a lot of this patch is leaning on the magic lore of the first we explored in the initial game when we got to Ilmeg, and it's building upon that. As a 5.1 vessel, it feels a little heavy. It's a lot of information really fast when we're kind of doing our little wrap-up stuff, but we're getting that ball moving because we need to find a way to get everybody back to the source and get them healed. And Oriange's idea...
Yet were we to immure our souls within an object in his possession, mayhap then our safe passage could be assured.
His genius, it's basically a Pokeball. His favorite White Aura site, he's thinking, can contain people's souls, and since we can travel with our stuff, it's a great explanation. You know, because players may have noticed you travel with your stuff, so if we think of our companions as stuff, or put them inside stuff, it's basically bag of holding logic from Dungeons and Dragons. Like this, the players are doing their bag of holding thing.
I'm completely unaware of it, but I loved Y'shtola trying to explain that if you think of us as your property, then we got it. And I'm like, I'm uncomfortable with that. I don't want to think about people as property. I'm not into that. But it was presented in a very fun way.
Well, and, you know, and Grahati is just like, kill me, okay, if you need to. You know, that is the mystery, the bulk of our 5.1, is finding out how we can make this Pokeball. And we're going to need some help.
Yes, we're going to need one more person to spew technobabble.
And we get to run a rather fun dungeon, an elvish castle, which was full of ghosts and very fancy. Didn't really have the extreme color shifts or set shifts of some of our other dungeons. But you got to fight like Chad Horse coming out of the painting with all its lumps. And Big Fire Guy was really fun, having to pass off the fire.
Final boss is great. When we get to this in the Wall of Dungeons, I'm coming for this dungeon. I thought it was a little basic.
It was one note. It was one note, and that was Magic Castle.
We've had cooler Magic Castles.
I did like the kind of seed mechanic on the second boss where you had to like get him out of the growth zone so he wouldn't spawn ads.
The bosses were good. I liked the bosses overall, and I particularly liked the final boss and the mechanic of making sure you have enough objects to set fire to, which is not really... you don't show this to young children as a way to handle being on fire, because setting something else on fire doesn't mean you're no longer on fire. But as a boss mechanic in an MMO boss fight, I really enjoyed it.
Sure, yeah, the extra flammable piano, you know, maybe not, but...
What lacquer are they using to finish that wood?
It worked, and it was fun to do. Immediately, our cool Mind Flayer boss thing transforms into a new Mao. Yep. For our final moment with the most Saturday morning cartoon voice you've ever heard in this game.
Shake? Beg?
That immediately changes the next scene.
You mean to tell me not only that the return of night was your doing?
They calm the down one scene later. But that first scene, I was like, oh no. Oh no, it's 4Kids Entertainment dub edition of Final Fantasy XIV. Here we go.
Which, to be fair, they were frazzled, so it makes sense maybe they calmed it down a little bit. I don't know about our friends, though. Like, they're using, like, mind control techniques, and they're, like, doing all this shake, beg, sit, heal thing. Like, is that morally just?
I mean, I just think it's dumb, so...
They're intensely Jim Henson, which I do enjoy a good Skeksis and a little Dark Crystal action.
This whole section, while there's a very specific revelation in what happens here with
Big Lug in the house, yeah, Backlug.
Yeah, while there's a specific revelation with that, and what happens in Yulmore, this whole thing, once I got to the end of it, I was like, oh, we're getting resolution for the twins. And the two you pick your own adventure, what order you start in the starting zones of Shadowbringers. We went back to the two starting zones and got closure on major arcs from both of those areas.
Oh, I didn't put that together. Well done. Yeah, I guess it was.
We got resolution for both of the twins because Alizé kind of had unfinished business with Halric, which again, I was kind of memeing on. I was like, it's the Omen child. He didn't have a cute face. So I didn't really feel for him. And then like hard left in the New Mao arc here, where suddenly like we hear Halric speak for the first time.
Mother.
They give him facial expressions and we see tears, and to me it was really effective. It was just like kind of caught me in the center of gravity because I didn't see it coming. So we get closure with that, and then we get closure with Alphino and his desire to right the wrongs of Yulmore. And we go through that in it like you couldn't set up a better adventure to set Alphino on. You need to prep somebody politically to lead a city of people that you feel you have failed. Like, what more could Alphino ask for in this world?
Oh, he was overjoyed. He was geeking out the entire time watching Mr. Chai stumble through the early stages of mayorship.
I left this having seen the entire thing, enjoying it more than I think I did kind of in the moment.
And it was actually extremely important information for how we're going to work our magic system.
And to me, I was as soon as Gabu got dropped, my brain was like, I don't care how we're getting back. I just want to save Gabu now.
So we get into summons, like familiars, soulcraft. We learn that our souls are denser because we're, extra rejoined, and we're particularly dense, one level more dense than everybody else in the room. What a wonderful compliment. We are too highly charged. We're too awesome with energy for the white aura sight to even work. It won't be able to contain us. And they think that we could maybe be put into stasis, but that would leave us lifeless husks. And Alzay goes, lifeless husks? I know some of those. And we're off to Journey's End. This is where like the stasis, the light magic, and those afflicted with it get compared to what we're trying to do with the white aura sight. And the most important part of this is the quote, the method I have in mind will entail the conjuring of a familiar. They are able to amplify the energies poured into them, making them the perfect conduit for ether revitalizing magics we will ultimately employ. Big Lug also says that seeing the magic work means that they could develop a method to induce stagnation, and therefore we could use the Pokeball. So we got to put people to sleep. We got to calm down their vibrating energies in order for possibly this white aura sight Pokeball to work.
And here is where I became a New Mao fan.
They're going to help out your little critter back on the source. Light, dark, earth, there's opposite elements, and will we use those opposites? Like, this is clearly there for those who were interested in the magic lore. And if you were paying attention in the poster cutscene with Oriange,
poster class,
yeah, you may have started to think about this objectifying white aura sight business. But ultimately, in the end, that's not going to be the plan. We're going to do something with Grahatia's eyes and the Crystal Tower and all that. It's going to be multi-layered. This is setting up all that.
There was enough here, I think, for everyone, though, depending on what you're into. Because, yes, but also we had all that business in Yulmore, which had essentially nothing to do with magic at all. Just kind of putting a bow on it as we prepare to leave the first.
I mean, I've really got nothing to say about the Yulmore adventure. I just love Mr. Chai. I think Mr. Chai is great. He has a fabulous accent that I love doing. He's adorable. I did accuse him running away, and I think I'm justified after his previous actions. But he's grown over the last 4 months or whatever real time is on the first. And we got to do a nice little duty. We were like patting him on the back and pushed him out into the aisle and said, "Go get him, Tiger."
I just liked watching Julia murder him with a hug.
Yes, yeah, we have officially entered Kermit Miss Piggy territory.
I hope it goes well for him.
At least I finally got a hug in Final Fantasy XIV. No kiss yet. He was kind of puckering. I don't know if he was suffering, but it looked like there was about to be a kiss. I just like kiss. I like romance. This is about as romantic as Final Fantasy XIV has got for me, but you know what? I'll take it.
Batman's back.
We return back to the source, and Estinian swaggers on in there wearing his casual clothes and gives us a little echo party as to what he's been up to.
Is it his casual clothes or is it his disguise clothes?
I don't know, because he ran out. It's the clothes he was wearing when he ran out of money in Kugane.
Oh, I didn't realize that, because he was also hanging out in those clothes on the streets of Garlemald, and I thought that he was just wearing that to blend in. But then he clearly engaged in open combat in full armor in Garlemald and escaped, so I don't know why he's wearing that anymore. I guess he just didn't want to be in the armor.
Yeah, maybe, he's just glamming. So Estinian is going to tell us, but we're super rude like that, and so is Kryl. So we invade his memories, and as there's a slight nod to like our Echo being kind of better than Kryl's, because we got to play as Estinian rather than see Estinian's actions. But we rejoin our Meanwhile in Garlemald from the end of 5.0. Estinian and Gaius are battling Xenos, and Estinian rips the limit break and it does nothing.
He also does a thing I love seeing, which is combine his attack with Gaius's X Strike. I love that in anything. And stuff happening but the example I always think of is Avatar, when they would mix their bending together.
Oh, that's a really good example. I always think of the old Simpsons arcade game where you could throw Bart. It's a great scene, and Xenos is apparently bored by this whole display because he's so massively powerful now, and he pieces out Ascian style.
Yeah. I mean, he's a build your own Ascian, not a Transformer Ascian, a Zord Ascian.
Kryl says,
escaping death, jumping from one body to the next, and returning to his own after all this time. He is an Ascian in all but name.
Now, I'm a little confused how he got these powers, and that teleport was definitely purpley, so I'm going to read into it. Did Xenos absorb some Shinryu business and become more powerful? Was Xenos, escalating like Akira, and would have been this powerful if we would have given him time after using the machine in Stormblood? Did teleporting between bodies eat people's ether, and now he's stuffed with it? Did he get his body back, and Elidibus had been chilling it for a long time, and therefore it's packed with Ascian business?
I have internalized this as he hasn't gained any more power than at the end of Stormblood. He has just mastered that power.
He has used it a few times.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, because he was powerful enough to inhabit Shinryu through his homebrewed Echo. That's already really impressive.
Which is still new information we haven't explored yet. Because as far as we know, Ascians can only possess dead bodies. That's why there's this whole little subplot thing with Thancred wearing a crystal necklace. And it even ching, 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 breaks off when you banish out La Habrea.
You're talking about all the way back in A Realm Reborn, right? Because they didn't...
Exactly.
There's no more about the necklace now.
No, that necklace just exploded. It's kind of left nebulous, right? Thancred is pushing himself hard because Louisoix died and ends up somehow putting on this necklace that allows him to be inhabited or cohabited by La Habrea.
I guess Shinryu just has a necklace that we didn't notice.
Maybe. He was in a sphere of some kind. Maybe that had some sort of help with the transference. Or maybe there's room for two in primals that are made of another dragon's eyeballs, right? He was made of some stuff. A lot of dead bodies, eyeballs. Maybe there's just a lot of room in Shinryu for someone to tag along.
I mean, it's all ether at the end of the day, right? I don't think I'm reading this too much. Now, he's bodied hopped a bunch of times. He's had a lot of time to practice with his Echo.
We begin our solo duty.
Yeah, I got
your request, your big request.
I got it. I mean, I still would prefer it as like a standalone game with action controls and, but nonetheless, y'all are doing it. No one spoiled me in the comments. You all contained yourselves quite well. Thank you for placing yourself into spoiler stasis, dear viewers.
While escaping, pursuing, making a different path than Gaius, we run into the volatile prototype Arc Ultima.
Naked Garlean man?
Yes, a very kind of dummy plug up there, riding an Ultima. Well, it says prototype.
Yeah, a little bit of body horror in our Final Fantasy XIV. You and I just scratched the surface of Nier just to get an idea what Automata was like, because we're going to be starting the raid this week at the time of recording this. So I also got a bit of a Nier vibe from it because the beginning of Nier Automata is just lousy with naked, genital-free androids. So, yeah, I don't know what to make of this. By Final Fantasy XIV standards, it's pretty freaky.
It's always tough to deduce silhouettes in anime-style things, right? Like, look at his face. Who was that? I have a guess.
What's your guess?
We only know one person who was T for teen cut in half. Ase didn't have a Garlean third eye, but it does look all white, and it could have been embedded to like help control the machine, the machina. He's got white hair now, and his sister got white hair when she died. So that's my guess.
Still had some like the top of butt cheeks though. Like was he cut in half at the groin?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like he wasn't cut in half. He was double stabbed by Tsukiyomi's blades. But in our T for teen environment, I think you could say that he was cut in half. They just couldn't do it.
Oh, you are. Oh, I'm not on board with this. I think you, sir. I
said I had a guess.
I think you, sir, have launched yourself into lower orbit with this prediction.
I don't know why they would bring back Asahi's body in the first place, because he was a disciple, a follower of Xenos, and with Xenos not in charge for a while, why would they care to do anything with him? I mean, they clearly have access to a lot of bodies. There's a war going on. So why even use somebody we know? Why even use a character? Why not just anybody?
I think it's just a rando dead Garlean.
Sure, and it's a horrible machine, and it makes the Garleans horrible people, and it works. It's a evil construct. They've stopped melting people into molds, and now they're making them ride in the back. So it's extra evil. It's extra super evil, and why not?
Sure. It was fun. I enjoyed this. It made me want to be a Dragoon even more than I already want to be a Dragoon. They just look so freaking cool. I also may have screwed up by not playing an Elysian. Stydian just looks awesome, man. Just looks awesome. This was a nice cap to a pretty simmer patch, which honestly all the 0.1 patches are now that I think about it. So we got our answers to the who survives the face-off between Gaius and Xenos, and the answer is everybody. Everybody survives, except for poor Garlean guards that get in the way of Stydian. Xenos just pieced out of there, just Asian pieced out of there. Gaius went on his own separate way. Stydian made it back to us, informed us all of this, and then pieced out himself. Just like, here's everything that happened. I'm gone.
Yeah, Stydian shared that Gaius survived, but he left because a device was missing, and the Garleans are planning something. So whatever Gaius is off to is not tied to our prototype Ultima thing, because that was there.
Yeah.
So there's some other Black Rose, something other business.
It was confirmed. They said Xenos did away with Black Rose.
And for reasons of his own, Xenos took it upon himself to rid the world of Black Rose.
It was like one of the last things I guess he did before Garlemald descended into yet another civil war, I guess. Garlemald, yeah. What's with the Garleans? Y'all are just waiting for the slightest inconvenience to just start killing each other again, aren't you?
It's the Skeksis fighting over the scepter while the king is dead in the bed. It's the same, they just can't stop fighting.
They can't do it.
Stop.
They can't do it. Yeah. So to me, I'm reading the situation as Black Rose is off the field now. unless that's what they want me to think. So I go to things we know of, like Garlean tech. Like if a quote-unquote device is gone, it's a cloning device? Is it Xenos' Echo device?
His Echo device would have been lost to him when he lost Alamigo. So he's got to build a new one.
Oh, that's right. It was located there. But it would be plausible that they still know how to build that stuff and could have been building it there in Garlemald in tandem or something of that nature.
And we learned in our Crystarium talks that the Scions are sustaining themselves by pulling ether from the environment around them, which we know is a super duper bad thing, because that's what primals do, in particular Alexander, who would have like destroyed the world with how much he was sucking up ether. That subplot of magic kind of puts me in mind that that's what Xenos is working on. Like, we're going to take this soul color thing and this sucking ether thing, and that's going to be the new and improved machine.
Yeah, because he's not above using any means necessary to increase his own ability. The Echo he has is not natural. It is not of his own capabilities. So why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he want to go one further? Because he just like wants to beat us, just from what I understand, just to say he did. It's what Xenos is going for. He's assuming we're getting more powerful in our fights on the first. He wants to get more power. He just wants more power so he can have a fair fight against us, or maybe not fair, but wants to defeat us however he can.
Versus Astidian and Gaius, he got bored, so I'm going to assume that Xenos is more powerful than us right now. So plot thread wise, I assume we don't meet Xenos for a very long time. I would be very surprised if we meet him and start doing that. Grow more powerful, my friend. No, like he wants to be as powerful as he can because he assumes we're that powerful right now.
I want Xenos to do a face turn. I want frenemy Xenos.
But we do have a bigger bad in the chamber with Zodiark, so there's a possibility of that.
Yeah, enemy of my enemy is my friend, sort of a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he was willing to do whatever he needed to do to take Black Rose off of the field, you know, what is the will of a elder primal? I don't know what do we even call Zodiark? I mean, they likened both Zodiark and Hydaelyn to ultra super mega primals.
The eldest and most powerful of primals.
So, you know.
Yeah, all they said was primals. So, yeah, primal. That's all we have. That's all we have to work off of.
Yes.
So the final scene. I need your opinion, Garrett, as Master Chin Analysis. Who do we got here?
Boy, howdy. Yeah, so we get another meanwhile, and to my best ability, this just looks like a friggin' human, man. This is a Hure Chin, as far as I can tell.
Really kind of playing up the dog thing. I don't think they're talking about New Mao, but they're like, the lap dogs and the dogs of war and the dog hunting dogs. So they're a hunter, a tracker.
Maybe there's a link to Gaius because he's the Black Wolf and he hunts Ascians.
Yeah, shed his pelt, the dog kind of imagery. That works for Gaius. Yeah, so maybe this is like the assassin that's going to hunt down Gaius.
I still don't quite know what to make of this character. I'm really focused in on the way the robes are styled, because you see robes, you think Ascian.
Absolutely.
It's kind of the visual language of this game. There is a metal crest on the hood that Ascian robes do not have. Like, the robe looks quite unique for an Ascian. It's not your run-of-the-mill Ascian robe. However, it's not entirely. We're calling it the white. You and I have been calling this the white robed figure, but it's not an entirely white robe figure. It's a black and white robe. It looks like the white has been torn away to black, or almost like overtaking the black.
And we still don't know what's going on with the Oracle of Darkness that we ran into there in our Eden raid. So this could be a traveler of some kind sent by a Litibus, but the Litibus kind of is on his own thing right now and seems to be handling things personally.
I think this character is diametrically opposed to Elidibus. Because if they want to help Xenos and Elidibus are not on the same page.
We do have a lot of red mass still running around, and we still haven't figured out why Gaius, or how Gaius, kills Red Mask Asians.
It's confirmed that only 3 Paragons of the Source survived, correct?
Correct.
Because I'm getting a Paragon vibe. Whoever this is seems important. Like, and it seems to me like if I had to take a shot in the dark right now, I'd say it's an Asian that is not on board with the other Asians. But for them to stand a chance or to kind of bring the gravitas that this hooded figure brought, my brain goes, well, wouldn't they be a Paragon of the Source? And we only have one left, and it's Elidibus, and I do not think that is Elidibus.
If we can assume the dungeon that is met in A Realm Reborn is on the Source, then we have other Asians visiting the Source, and clearly Gaius has killed some of them. So there are figures that could take this on, and hey, maybe not such a bad idea to help the guy who wants to eat Zodiark, to find Zodiark, and perhaps, open the door, unleash him. The classic Cthulhu, I summoned you, and then they step on him, which is a trope I love. I love the whole, oh, give me power, and then they just get destroyed by the awful thing they summoned forth, Jaraxxus.
Trifling gnome.
Exactly. And our final scene is Ardbert's body, chilling by some Umorans and talking evil stuff.
That's not Ardbert.
I think it's Ardbert's body. I think Elidibus got him out of cold storage and is riding Ardbert and is gonna go, make some classic Spider-Man level mischief. Or, that episode of the Powerpuff Girls where like the guys put on Powerpuff helmets and everyone was like, oh my God, the Powerpuff Girls are robbing the bank. Like, it's going to be the same thing. He's just going to go around being a dick, causing a bunch of trouble in Ardbert's name. How that helps his goals, I don't know. But, Elidibus has clearly the best plans ever.
And he's by the, yeah. I don't think it's Elidibus riding Ardbert either. I don't think. That seems a little too beneath his station. That, or he just had such a good time pretending to be Xenos. He's like, all right, I want to do it again.
Could be, he rode Xenos for a while. He had access to Ardbert's body as he helped them move between the First and the Source. All the other bodies were, this is, again, one of those T for teen kind of things. Like, all the other bodies were like gray. I assume in a mature game, they would have been all decrepit and cool and weird when during the roll quest, when we met the cardinal virtues.
Oh, well, I mean, they were also like turned to Sin Eaters shortly following the flood, right? If this is Ardbert's actual body, I am annoyed because it should be decomposed.
We heard a fan theory, or might not be a fan theory, that Ardbert, with the help of Elidibus, offed his friends so they could all travel to the Source. And that is why his axe is bloodied. And in the final scene, when Ardbert marches towards the Crystarium and you see all the friends and we do kind of the Star Wars flashback thing, his axe is clean because he's now forgiven. Or has healed his soul, because that's not actually his axe, because I think Elidibus got his body up in Cold Moon storage.
They better explain it. That's all I'm saying. It's been 100 years since Ardbert died. Roughly.
And that's the point. This is the time for new questions because we are at our 5.1. We need to wrap up our previous plot and start to introduce Endwalker. And, I mean, if Elidibus is really here, there is a chance that 5.3 is the end of Elidibus. And actually, we're Paragon of the Source free for Endwalker.
All Asians are gone and we're just dealing with Zodiark and Hydaelyn.
Yeah, I mean, there could be lots of minor Asians and kind of fill the room up, right?
Well, and also if Xenos got like full Asian powers, well, why couldn't one of the lower Asians find some way to get more ability?
And maybe our white-robed figure is a black masked Asian looking to ascend using Xenos' machine.
Oh, it's like an Asian stan, and it's like Xenos figured it out. I gotta hang out with Xenos so I can become a real Asian. If I was writing this again, I'm so hung up on back when Emmett. It was the optional dialogue too. I'm so hung up on this optional dialogue that Emmett was like, "Oh, they're just titles. We could technically raise someone else to the station of another Asian name." I'm real hung up on that, Kyle.
I think you should be.
I'm as hung up on that as you are on Asian Prime.
I just like Ascian Prime's just cool, man. Like,
Oh yeah, I mean, I'll give you that. Ascian Prime is
It's cool.
I was
It's
really
just
happy
cool
to see it
looking.
in Hades Extreme.
Yeah, that was really neat. So now was a rather big wait. Everybody seeing this scene had to make it all the way to February 18th, 2020 to see what the heck this was all about.
Is that when Point 2 came out? On the precipice of shutdown.
Yeah. It was like the last hurrah, as it were. 4 months of wait to see where this is going.